Hi there, my name is Mike and this is my first product review. I was interested in buying these two knives and I spent some time having a look on YouTube to see what other people had to say about them. I decided, therefore, to do a cracking unboxing and do a review of both of them side by side. I thought you might find that useful. So here we go. So the two blades in question are the QSP Hedghog and the Kershaw Parley. These are both cleaver style blades. Now we'll kick it off with the Kershaw. So straight off the bat, we've got a perfectly reasonable little box, the sort of thing that you'd get in any knife shop. I bought this from Heine Haynes online at a price of $34.95. This was the cheapest I could find. So, nice enough little box. I will just open it up. In fact, before we go any further, I would just mention this. This is the Svord Peasant, or maybe the Mini Peasant. So this isn't the full-size one. It is a friction folder or slip joint, and this is by far and away my favorite blade. It's UK legal length, and it's unusual because the tang, whilst it protrudes, it looks like it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket. Don't even feel it. But the tang, as you open it up, it fits nicely into the hand, totally secure. There is no way that can close onto your hand when using it. Some people, myself included, when you saw this little lump sticking out the back there, out the spine, suspected that might cause hot spots with heavy use, but to be honest with you, again, you barely ever feel it. So I picked this one up for just under £20, I think it was, and this is my everyday carry. I take this with me everywhere, and it's a fantastic little knife. The only criticism I would have of it is that the steel itself is a little bit soft. It takes an edge nicely, but it doesn't last particularly long. Having said that, for £20, you can't complain. Just a couple of strokes of steel and it is razor sharp and ready to go. So that's the Svord Mini Peasant, a little bonus for you. You should definitely get one of these. So there's that. Now moving on to the Kershaw. Let's pop this open. So just in a basic bag, anything else in there? Little instruction manual of some sort. I'm not sure what instructions I need. Yeah, that's just basic information about maintenance and safety. So it's good to get that, but we're not going to pay too much attention. So the knife itself in just a basic polythene bag. And first look, it's actually a very, very attractive little knife. Some nice texturing on the handle. Seems to be very nicely finished there. You've got the brass in between the steel. Blade is a little bit off center. I don't know how well you can see that. There we go. But frankly, I don't care. Little lanyard hole if you need one. Everything feels nice and smooth. There's nothing really protruding. Yeah, first glance, nice looking thing. So, immediately, that opens and closes very, very smoothly. And there's a little bit of resistance to the close. I would probably like it to be a little bit stronger than that, especially as there's no two-step. I'm not sure of the term, but I like it when there's a click there and it holds in place, but there isn't one. Now, the blade itself, very, very nicely finished. Let's have a look to see how sharp it is. Pop that down and go and get some paper. Okay, so we'll try the classic paper cut. Oh yeah, that is a razor, straight out the box. Oh, that wasn't so good. Yeah, that's excellent. And as you can see, there's quite a nice curve to the edge there, so that really lends itself to slicing. Made in China. You've got the Kershaw branding there. A little ridge bit here, I'm not sure what that's for. I assume that's just for looks. Yeah, overall, quite a nice pocket knife. For $34.95, absolutely fine, I'd say. Now, there is an issue with this that we'll discuss later. Let me pop that to one side and let's move on to the QSP Hedghog. Now, immediately, the presentation is very much more impressive. It's not a deal breaker at all. I'm not bothered about the boxing. All I'm interested in is the blade itself, but that's a great start. So, QSP, better knife, better life. A snappy logo there. So, let's take that off. Okay. So we've got a couple of stickers here. Nice little extra. So nice to have, not a deal breaker one way or the other. This is quite useful. I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a little schematic with the measurements of the blade there. So, you know, useful little thing. A guarantee on the back. We'll keep that to one side. Now, the box itself, there's some laser cut foam in there. The knife itself is held quite snugly, and visually, this is streets ahead. Like I say, it's not a deal breaker, but it's a very nice touch. So, put that to one side. Again, just in the plastic bag, branded plastic bag, nice touch, not really necessary. So, this is the QSP Hedghog. Straight away, it's a lighter knife. Not a huge difference between the two, but there is a difference. Yeah, that feels a little bit more solid, but not a lot in it. You've got the nice little thumb nick, thumb groove either side, and that's almost a fuller in its own right. So that's kind of cool. So, immediate difference there, much more resistance, and there's that little halfway point, the safety snap. I like that, that's good. So, click it open, satisfying snap, immediately more resistance needed to close it. So, for me, that's a big plus. Now, the blade itself, completely straight edge, wicked little tip there. And this is basically the profile of a straight razor. That is crazy fine. Very, very nice job. And quite impressive. They have got it lined up perfectly in the center. Again, not a huge problem one way or the other, as long as it doesn't catch, but that's impressive. Now, the micarta handle feels very nice. Little bit of texture to it. They've obviously got these little indentations on the side. The lanyard hole is smaller, I think. Yeah, a little bit smaller, a little bit rough around the hole. Not a deal breaker. I won't be using a lanyard on it. The branding's okay. Yeah, I don't mind that one way or the other. Again, not a huge deal breaker. Now, let's try the sharpness test. That's extraordinary. For a factory finish, that is absolutely wild. Yeah. That's an extraordinary finish. Very, very impressed with that. Now, I don't know how well that's going to hold up in sort of general use because it is so fine. That's the sort of thing we're only going to find with experience and practice, but I suspect this is going to take quite a nice edge quite quickly as well. Now, as I mentioned with the Svord, I am based in the UK. You could possibly have guessed that from my voice. So we have quite strict knife laws. it's got to be non-locking, and it has to be below 3 inches. Now, this is where the Kershaw Parley brings us a little bit of a problem. So if we compare them side by side, there's not a huge difference. On the Heine website, it says that because the cutting edge is less than 3 inches, let's get the ruler out. Yeah, the cutting edge is less than 3 inches. It should be UK legal carry. However, that is where there is a little bit of a grey point. There was a ruling a little while ago where it wasn't just the length of the cutting edge that was being measured, it was the entirety of the blade. And that means that we are just slightly over 3 inches. Now that's a very small difference. But to be honest with you, I mean, if you wanted to just give it a go and argue the point, then by all means, if you happen to get stopped and searched and a police officer had exception to this, you could argue it. To be honest with you, it's not worth it. It simply isn't worth the aggravation for a tiny little extra bit of steel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off just a little bit so the whole thing is a fraction under 3 inches, and I'm going to use the linisher for that in a second. Now, the most important thing there is we don't want to let the blade heat up because we don't want to run the risk of ruining the temper. It will probably be fine, but we're going to take it nice and steady, and we're going to dip the blade regularly just to make sure sort of every pass doesn't get too hot. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else particularly relevant about these. They're both very appealing. The Kershaw is a much heavier duty blade if I compare the two from the end there. The Kershaw is a heavier blade. It'll definitely stand up to heavier use. There's not a massive difference in them. Let's weigh them. Let's see what the actual difference in weight is. Right, let's move these. Okay. So, first of all, we've got the Hedghog, and that is 78 grams. Take that off. We've got the Kershaw Parley, 88. There's 10 grams in it, so really nothing. And out of interest, let's have a look at the Peasant, 43. By far and away the lightest, and I'll be honest, this is still going to be my favorite. Right, so yeah, so far, just in terms of use, I massively prefer the Hedghog. This one cost me $42.99 from Cyclair Knives, and as I said, this one $34.95 from Heine. The postage was fantastic. I ordered both of these at the same time at around 5 o'clock. They both arrived the next day before 11 a.m. Heine was a bit more expensive, but only £1 or £2 with the postage. Right, so moving on, let's have a look at reshaping this blade. Yeah, as you can see, there's very little to come off there. So I think I'm just going to take the whole thing down just a little. Right, so I've taken that to just below 3 inches. And I'm going to follow the edge because it's follow the profile of the tip because it's quite a nice shape. There we are. Right. Let's use the linisher. Now, note that I'm holding the blade and not the handle. The last thing we want to do is have that catch and chop my fingers off. Being very cautious about the temperature. There's no heat in that at all. And there we go. So virtually identical profile, but it is now very definitely, oh, there we go. It is now very definitely UK legal. Where are we? There we go. Nice. So there we have it. A little bit of surgery on the Kershaw Parley now, and it is exactly the same length as the QSP Hedghog. And what you have is 3 really quite nice, quite charming little everyday carry pocket knives. Overall, which would I say is the best? Best isn't the right word. I think it comes down to feel. This one, the Hedghog, feels the best. It feels like the best quality. It feels a little safer, and that edge is just insane. I've never seen anything like that out of a box before. This was excellent. The Kershaw Parley was fantastic. Very, very smooth action. I would prefer a firmer one. Really not a deal breaker. There shouldn't be much really going on that is going to put much of a risk of that closing on your fingers. I mean, you're always going to be pushing away anyway. Feels a little bit more robust, possibly a little bit sharp on the corners here. Yeah, maybe a little bit sharp there. I might go over that with a little bit of sandpaper. Don't know, we'll see. I don't think it's going to cause much problem, but it's just a little sharp in the hand. And of course, the Svord Mini Peasant. Overall, that is going to remain my main everyday carry. These two, I'm going to give it a go and see how I get on. To be honest with you, I think they're going to be pretty much interchangeable, and it's just going to be a case of whichever one I happen to pick up. So there we go. I hope you find that useful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But overall, both seem like great little knives. Time will tell. A little bit of bonus material. I've got some high quality top grain leather here, and this is around 3.5, 4 mil thick. So I would just do a little cut test with each of these to see how they fare. So starting off, Kershaw Parley, and it's, as you would expect really, it just doesn't offer much resistance at all. Very, very nice, sharp, clean edges. Moving on now to the Hedghog. I'm expecting this to really excel. And it does. It really does. You can feel the difference between the two. Very little pressure needed. Yeah, the Hedghog is, it's just a sharper blade. I don't think you're going to be cutting through anything with this that you'll have a problem with. Either of them, to be fair. again, they're both fairly evenly matched blades, but damn,